So Lima,
Yes.
as we just saw with Amanda, she's a different person.
Yeah,
You've transformed Amanda.
Because our team is really good at what we do.
I think you knew what you were doing all along.
Yeah.
So just give us a little synopsis of what was involved in Amanda's rehab and why it's been so successful.
Absolutely. So Amanda was traumatized on a regular basis while she was living on Skid Row. And a lot of times when people are in that environment and they can't escape that environment, the reason that it's called mental and behavioral health is because when they can't express themselves, they start to act out how they feel. And so the case with Amanda, she was, as you had described, some of the horrific circumstances where you'd constantly have to buy her clothes and you'd find her without clothes again. There was plus the abuse and the physical violence
as
and
I've
the rape.
said before, she was the worst case you could find on Skid Row.
Yeah, definitely. And
It took a lot of courage for you
probably the worst case I've ever seen personally.
It took a lot of courage for you to decide that she was the one you wanted to try to help.
Yeah, but we have a lot of confidence in what we do, and I really truly don't believe in an impossible case. I think that this just goes to show you not to give up on anybody. But the core factor is that Amanda's not a miracle. It's just a very structured system of how to do things. And if we can do this for everybody, we can save anyone.
Yeah, I really believe that now. Because when we first started, I was like, oh man, this could go badly.
Definitely.
And I was amazed at how together Amanda is now. She's so clear-headed, she's so present. It's amazing.
Amanda walks up to the other patients when she realizes that someone's new, and she'll go and introduce herself and let them know that if they need anything to come out and reach out to her. And there's been several instances where people have given her things and she's gone out of her way to share those items. Even some of the items that were gifts that were sent to her from you guys. She was sharing them. One of the girls she only had one pair of shoes in the treatment center. And so she gave her a pair of shoes, or she was giving clothes to people that didn't have. So she's definitely her true character has completely come out in all of this. And she feels so blessed that she wants to share that with other people. So I think that it's been the most wonderful thing to work with her. And one of the most incredible things has been how many letters she's received. She shared with me on multiple occasions that's one of her biggest motivators. And because there's been so many people that have said that they're going to treatment because of Amanda, because they've seen her transform her life, Amanda and I decided to do a video, a day in the life of. So what it's actually like to go to treatment for a day. Because I also get a tremendous amount of people reaching out saying that they're scared to go to treatment, or they don't want to feel like they're in jail, they can't do what they want to do. So we did that together, and I can link that on my Instagram if anyone wants to see it. Cool. But yeah, that was really, really incredible. And she definitely took charge and explained what goes on. But I think at this point she feels like a staff member because she's been there for a while. So she finishes everybody's sentences when they're explaining a therapy or a technique. Yeah, it's very cute.
So in a nutshell, the reason Amanda's rehab has been so successful is why?
Because she was removed from a traumatic environment for a sustained period of time. So all of a sudden, you take someone who all the life that they know, I'm not good enough for this. This is where I am, and she couldn't imagine what her life could actually be like. And at the very beginning, like the two problems that addicts have, or anybody, like even workaholics or whatever the case is, setting boundaries. So the inability to say no to take on extra projects, or to say no to drugs, or to say no to sexual advances, whatever it is, setting boundaries. And the second thing is being okay and happy with yourself. And you can't do that in 30 days. So at the very beginning, when you're telling someone that they're worth it, that they deserve better, that they can forgive themselves for experiences that may necessarily not have been their fault. So Amanda, with the sexual abuse and the drug abuse, plus the mental illness, in my opinion, having sex with someone that's mentally ill is the equivalent of having sex with a child. Like someone that is unable to make decisions and is completely disoriented with drugs. It's really important for them, and then they end up feeling disgusted by themselves because of what happened. It's really important for those people to understand it's not your fault. You were taken advantage of, and you're worthy of something better. And so at the very beginning, their brain is like, okay, I hear what you're saying. I'll say I love myself and good things about myself, but they don't actually believe it. And Amanda being in an environment for 7 months where she hasn't been able to use, she hasn't been able to be abused, and she's been in a place where people are constantly telling her that they're so proud of her. She's constantly receiving letters from all over the world saying that they are so honored that she's willing to share her story and change other people's lives, and also that she's making a lot of friends. So in the video that we shot, her roommate really wanted to be a part of it, so I got a release form for her. But her roommate also shared how Amanda was really helping other people there. So it's been really incredible to see her take all the positive words that everyone's been sharing, and then she shares them with others.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story.
Definitely.
Tell me, I mean, we talked about this in one of the earlier videos, but for people that maybe are new to the story, tell me how you started Aura and why.
Yeah, so I started Aura because my sisters, who are identical twins, have had some mental health struggles. They were diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, which is more commonly known as multiple personality disorder. And they were misdiagnosed with schizophrenia for over 3.5 years, given the wrong medication, and developed an addiction to prescription medications. So I've struggled a lot. That's devastated my family, and we've gone into a lot of details in the first video, so I won't go into those right now. But my biggest mission with this is to raise the bar for mental health care, because my sisters have each been to over 60 treatment centers and nothing's worked because they're all 30-day short-term stays. And of course, to afford $45,000 on average times 2 for a prolonged period of time like what we're doing for Amanda is not something that the average family can afford to do. So it becomes who can afford to get better. And that's the core issue with our mental health care system. And then when you have so many patients there for such short terms, and they're all very agitated and depressed and stressed out, they end up being sedated in these facilities. And so you end up with a situation where they're pumped full of meds for 30 days, released, go crazy because they've lost total support, and they also are cut off from so many medications, and then they end up using and relapsing. And so it's a vicious cycle. There's a 90% relapse rate. One of the biggest problems for me specifically is the stigma with mental health. A lot of people don't talk about it. And for a really long time, I hid it from friends and actually also family members. My mom and my sisters just kind of were very quiet about what was going on. And it's a huge problem because so many people don't understand it. And for example, with my sisters having DID, there was an incident where I went to a friend's wedding in Chicago, and I was living and taking care of my sisters at the time, so I was going for a few days, and I got a phone call from my sisters that they were having seizures and they couldn't stop. And at the time I didn't know what these seizures were, but I found out that they are called Pseudo-Seizures. They're caused by severe psychological and mental distress. And I ended up video calling them for about 9 hours. And I was trying to convince them to let me call the police. So I'd be interacting with the people at the wedding and smiling and acting like everything was okay. And then I'd go into the room and I would check, my phone, because both my mom and I were on this video call for 9 hours. Eventually, they agreed to let me call the police because, of course, having additional people there could make the pseudo-seizures even worse. So once they agreed to that, I called the police and I thought that everything would be okay. And my sisters thought immediately, or the police thought immediately, that my sisters were faking it because it didn't look like a seizure that they knew. And they threatened to arrest my sisters, and I was on the phone listening to all of this. And then as soon as that happened, their alters switched. And then the police didn't even understand what dissociative identity disorder was. And they thought that they were faking it and they were just calling 911 to mess around. And so I spent another 2 hours that day on the phone with police trying to get them to release my sisters because they wanted to arrest them for abusing 911 and faking this. And so this has also happened at numerous hospitals where staff just thinks that if they've gone in because they're afraid of what's going on with them mentally, the staff is not really trained in the emergency room to handle mental distress. So they end up thinking that my sisters are faking it, and it becomes a huge problem. So the stigma factor is really, really important for me to just get people talking about it and understanding it.
Okay.
All right. So Bam and Nikki Margera, you probably know them from Jackass. They were so moved by Amanda's story that they've pledged to help support this publicly and help me fundraise for Amanda and for the scholarship to help raise more money. So in order to say thank you to them, our team has a bunch of virtual cities inside our virtual reality system. So we made a billboard for them, and that was on the Skid Row experience that we put Amanda in. And if you want to check that out, that's also on Instagram with their handles as well if you guys want to support them. But the reason that this is so incredibly significant is because Bam actually recently went to a treatment center. He went in for Adderall and alcohol, and he was very much vocal about the fact that he came out addicted to over 10 different medications. The difference between what we did for Amanda and Bam's experience is that treatment centers that are using tools like Aura to actually measure and track patients' feelings and identify which patients are better suited for a group, which patients are better suited for one-on-one therapy, and also be able to provide individualized support, means that they can be more responsible with medication. So they don't have to sedate everybody because they're tracking everyone through the technology. And I think that that's a huge factor. And so the last thing is that I've had an overwhelming amount of people reaching out for the LPS conservatorship template. So it was really important to me that instead of everybody waiting for a response from me, we've put everything up on our website. So that way you guys can find those under resources. And if you're a healthcare provider that wants to integrate tools into your practice, you can email us at healthcare@meetaura.io. And if you're a family member that's looking for support, you can either check out our website, or you can also send an email to familysupport@meetaura.io. Our goal is to make sure that mental health is treated like physical health, and it's really important to us that everyone feels like they're getting the same type of support that Amanda's getting. And so lastly, if you are able to donate to the Gofundme campaign so that we can continue covering Amanda's care, and we can also, if it gets big enough, we can actually start accepting more people, including some of the viewers that are watching this. That's the goal.
That would be excellent.
That would be a dream come true.
Yeah. Well, you've done an incredible job with Amanda.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I think you may have changed the direction of how rehab should, hopefully the world will see how rehab should go differently than it does currently, right?
Definitely. We need to bring these rehab facilities into the 21st century. It's really exciting, and it's really transforming the industry, and it's using technology that's being used in gaming or being used in fintech and pushing it into mental health care. So it's really a game changer.
Yeah. So great for Amanda and her dad and maybe many other people.
Definitely.
All right, Lima. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
All right.